for Truth. It's an awesome name. And we're 5 doctors, and we give talks to groups of people about what happened during COVID and what you can do going forward. And we give out a handout that has different websites to go to, different Substacks to listen to, different podcasts to listen to, different people to follow that really have been at the forefront of looking at studies and even doing the studies themselves since the start of COVID, and are looking at this evidence day to day and saying, okay, here's something new that's coming out, or here's what's on the horizon for possible coming pandemics. What do we know about it? What can we look at that might help treat this? And so I think what you really need is you need to find 3 or 4 trusted resources, usually individuals or small groups of physicians typically, who do this research as their job now and that give you the data in a sort of dumbed down, simplified form, because you don't have 16 hours to read about it every day. So people that I really like, Pierre Corey, FLCCC, the Frontline COVID Coalition, Peter McCullough.
That's a great start for people.
Yeah, we should put those in the notes.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe our next and last big jump here is, what's the difference between a traditional vaccine and gene modification therapy?
All right. So,
just the softball here.
So a traditional vaccine.
And what kind of coffee do you like?
Yeah. It's just
Speaking
black
of coffee.
Traditional vaccines have taken a component of the virus or bacteria, and either it's a piece of the bacteria or virus, which means it's basically a killed vaccine, or it's a weakened virus. And they attach that to something that your body will recognize as foreign, an adjuvant, that your body will then say, okay, let's make a immunologic response to this foreign invader, and let's make an antibody response so that if we ever see this again, we'll be able to protect this body. And so that's what we've used for, not quite a century, but since about the 40s. And so your body will mount a good antibody response, and then if you see it again in 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, your body will probably have some antibody memory of that and will go and fight that virus or bacteria. The mRNA products basically tell your body to make an abnormal protein, and there's not really an off switch. And so it is doing things to us in a way that we have not ever had on a mass scale before.
So one thing I've noticed about myself is that I struggle to believe anything now that's being fed to me, because I just don't know how to identify what's real due to all the censorship that's happened with everything. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah. So my part of the Doctors for Truth talk is censorship and consequences that's happened in the last 4 years. And the censorship, it actually started in about after the 2016 election. There were people that did not like the outcome of the election and felt that there had been foreign election interference. And so the Department of Homeland Security classified election integrity as one of our most important infrastructures to protect. And then Congress formed something called CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Had to write that down. And they are part of DHS, and they basically oversee any kind of online or computer type interference that might happen with any of our critical infrastructure, including elections. So once that was formed, they then got together with some public groups, and they formed the Election Integrity project or partnership. And that was a group, 2 different universities, Stanford and Washington, and then the Atlantic Council and Graphica, which looks over misinformation on the internet. And they started looking at election interference that was happening, or election misinformation. And then they started censoring that through different social media companies, news companies. That was in 2018. That switched in 2020 to start looking at COVID misinformation and what CISA or other government agencies perceived as misinformation. And this has all come out in 2022. There was a lawsuit that was brought. It's called Missouri versus Biden, where 2 individuals and then also the state attorney generals of Louisiana and Missouri filed Missouri versus Biden against the government, claiming that there had been violation of people's First Amendment rights by censoring what people were saying in online formats. And through the Freedom of Information requests, just page after page of these instances have been uncovered. And we are seeing now that you really could not speak anything that was outside of the approved narrative during COVID, whether it was about masks or whether it was about lockdowns or if it was about vaccines or if it was about natural immunity. You would just be deplatformed or taken down a notch so that nobody would see your posts. And then many people were even attacked even more strongly by losing their jobs, losing their licenses. So it is hard to know what to trust, again, unless you go to those individuals that are doing this as basically their full-time job now, these physicians that are really researching it and getting the information out there. So yeah, censorship has been present since 2018, but really in the last 4 years, just taken up to a new level.
Which really, I'm kind of a strict constitutionalist. That's where I fall in this world. And when I compare what we've done over the last, say 6 years to the First Amendment, it really bothers me. It really bothers me.
Yes.
Because when you start, the problem with a democracy, and we don't have a democracy. I want to be very clear on that. We do not live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic, which means, for those listening, it means we have a set of laws, the Constitution, which are meant to restrain the government in its influence on the population, and we elect people to go and represent us on a national or state level. That's a constitutional republic, which is different than a democracy, which means majority rules, and which is terrifying, which is, that's like an oligarchy, because then you get these people who get elevated to these positions in government who then tell you what you can and can't do.
Right.
Not the law.
Right.
And that's where we find ourselves now. In this particular area, if we talk about healthcare only, it is incredibly throttled what you can and cannot say. And that's what you went through the whole explanation of how it all occurred and what's happened. And it's still happening to this very day.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So you're now taking a new path in life.
Yes.
You have decided to go out on your own and reclaim this freedom, where you found your little piece of land that you're going to stand on now. You are changing your practice. You're changing the way you serve patients. You're changing, you're going to die on this hill.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically. This is where you've chosen to stand. And I will tell you, I've lived on this hill my whole time in practice. I've never done the insurance game. I've never done any of that. So I get where you're going because I've lived there a long time, and it is the most wonderful time. It feels like you get to stand out with that breeze flowing on your face, the sunshine coming down on you, and you're free finally. You're not going to recognize how much oppression you have been under based on groups or hospitals or other things And now you're going to be free from that. Tell me what you're doing now. Tell the audience what you're doing.
All right. I am starting a new practice. It's called Freedom Pediatrics, and it's a direct primary care practice, which is a membership model. So I don't take insurance. All the care I provide to you is covered by a monthly membership fee. You still need insurance for if you need your appendix out, or you get hit by a bus, or you can use it for x-rays or medications. But any general pediatric care that you need, whether it's in person or by text with me or a phone call or a telemedicine visit, is all covered under that monthly fee. And my goal is to, A, keep you healthy so that you hopefully do not need as much health care. I will have more time to take care of every patient. I will have 30 to 60 minutes at every visit. And I will have...
That's insane.
I know. It
In our
is.
world today, it used to be the norm.
And I will have far fewer patients. I currently have 2,400 patients in my practice that I've been at for 20 years. I will have 300 patients. So it is my job to help you find ways to be more healthy. And that is really what I think healthcare should be. It should be people learning to be healthy. Not putting out a fire when it comes up, not having poor lifestyle choices that lead to the need for healthcare, but teaching people to be healthy. And so that is my plan, and I'm excited to get to practice that way and to provide that care to people that want to learn to be healthy. Also, in the name Freedom Pediatrics, there's lots of meanings behind that. One of the biggest ones is just freedom for parents to be able to ask questions and talk to their provider and not be afraid that they will be belittled or shamed or made to cry. For parents to be able to make a decision for their child that they think is right for their child. But to have a provider who can say, from my training, here's what I know. Here are the reasons that I recommend what I recommend. Let me talk to you about what you feel. And again, it's your choice. It is your choice ultimately as a parent. But let's work together to help you come to the best decision for your child. So that's the main meaning behind Freedom Pediatrics.
Love it. How can people reach out and get a hold of you if they'd like to?
The best way is just to go to the website. It's freedompediatrics.com.
There you go.
And it explains it, and you can contact me that way.
Yeah. Beyond you opening your own practice, do you have any other aspirations, goals, or dreams? Any other political motivations in the future?
Wow.
Yeah.
Not while I'm a physician.
Yeah, I get it.
Nope. I think those two jobs are best kept separate.
Understood.
Yep.
It's been an honor. In a world where it just feels like there's a lot of people pleasing and fear and all that going on, to have somebody like you that is showing an example of bravery is incredible. And we just
Thanks.
appreciate you being on here.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Dr. Christine White on the Chadcasters.